All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening from wherever you're joining. I think it should be evening, except in Alberta, when it's not evening yet. Asha, what time is it over there?
It is 3:30 right now.
And of course, Yuliia in BC, what time is it there?
2:30.
2:30. So it is in Ontario, it's 5:30. So evening to you guys in Ontario, afternoon to everyone and the other parts of Canada. I hope everyone is doing well. We are here with our first Ask the Expert session here for PR. And this session is really tailored to applicants that are in country. So if you're listening to us, you're in Canada, you're looking to explore your pathways to PR, you have questions about changing status, extending status, renewing, whatever it is, this is a Q&A session. We're going to be here for the next hour, just answering as many immigration questions as we may be able to answer for you right here. It is important to note that some immigration questions may be a little bit more complex, that may require more of a one-on-one session with our team, and we would also discuss on how you can get that as well. It's also important to note that we may not be able to get to all questions today, but we will do our best to answer. And for those that will be joining later as well, you can always rewatch because this will be reshared on the platforms as well so that you can learn from the questions and the answers from today's session. So we're going to get right into it with a little bit of an introduction. Of course, my name is Florence Akpan, founder and lead consultant here at InfoPlace Canada. We live and breathe immigration, and I have with me here today, Yuliia. Go ahead, Yuliia, your intro.
Hi everyone. Welcome. We'll be talking about PR here. My name is Yuliia. I'm one of the consultants at InfoPlace Canada. Yeah, I'm from BC. So what do we do in these intros, Florence?
Just
my favorite food is pasta.
What you said is good. And Yuliia, for those who don't know, Yuliia just returned and joined the team. She was part of the team. I was off on maternity leave for a while, so we're so happy and so excited to have Yuliia back on the team as well. So we'll be answering questions today. Asha, over to you.
Good day, everybody. My name is Asha. I'm an immigration consultant here at InfoPlace. For those of you who don't know me, it's nice to meet you. And for those of you who do, it's nice to see you again. Looking forward to today's session and answering all of your questions.
Perfect. That's wonderful. So we're going to get right into it with answering questions. And we're here for you. Put your questions in the chat. We're going to be taking those as we go along and answer them. I see a question there that said, we're not in Canada. Can we still ask questions? Yes, you can ask. You're here. You showed up early. So ask your questions and let's see how much of those we would be able to go through and answer. So we're going to start right at the top here. Fisayo logged in here really early, way before everything started, and has a long question. But he said, I have 2 questions. So to apply for PR under Canadian Experience Class, does 12-month experience start 15 months you started working in the related field or once you receive your PGWP? Second question, must the job tally with the job role and profile on IRCC page to qualify? For instance, I work as an admin assistant and my job tag is admin professional as against admin assistant role on IRCC. Will that be an issue or do I need to tweak what it is on IRCC? Asha, what do we have to tell Fisayo?
Okay, so I'll start with the first question. For CEC, does 12 months experience start counting? So the 12 months from CEC would start counting as of the day that you applied for your PGWP. So as long as you have applied for your PGWP or you have a valid work permit, you have some sort of work authorization letter providing you with authorization to work, then that's the day that your work experience would start counting. Now, in your situation specifically, it would depend on when you actually began in the role. If you were already in the role and you applied for your PGWP, as of the day you made that PGWP application is when it would count, or as of the day you got the job. So that's the first one there. Now, your second question, must the job tally with the job role and profile? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Your example, I work as an admin assistant, but my job is tagged admin professional. If you're referring to your job title doesn't have to be exactly in line with the NOC code that you've selected. If your job title is admin professional, that's fine. If your job title is admin assistant, that's fine. It really is going to depend on the actual role itself and the duties. That's where we need to ensure that we have the right NOC selection. So if you've chosen the NOC for admin assistant, you have to make sure that you look at the lead heading for admin assistant. When you get your reference letter that has your detailed duties, you look at those duties and make sure that they're a good match to the NOC that you've selected. If the job title is not one of the examples that's listed on the NOC, that's completely fine.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. Barbara has a question here, Yuliia. I want to know why with my 512 CRS, I did not get an ITA.
Well, Barbara, it'd be helpful to know what category you're hoping to apply under, just because, for example, if you're going under the French category, then the latest draw, the score was 397, so you should have received an invitation. So I just really need to know what category you're trying to go under. Some of them, the cutoffs are high, that you won't, even at 512, that's just not enough. Maybe you need to do something a little bit extra. So just specify that a little bit for us.
Perfect.
I think she said that she's applying under French. I had more than 7, almost 9 in French.
So I would say, Barbara, if the draw just happened today, so I would say give it at least 24 hours to receive your ITA. Sometimes it takes time before the ITA shows up, but keep an eye on your emails and your portal. It will show up because it seems like you may have met the requirement for it, but wait and see within the next 24 hours.
Another thing that I'd like to mention is for the French category specifically, when we're looking at English language exam results, IRCC does not look at your overall band. That's something that's really important to note. So maybe you had a 9 here and a 7 there and a 6 there. Your language needed to be a level 7 in all 4 bands in French language. So if one of the results was not a CLB level 7 in French, that could be a reason as well.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. All of that has to add up, Barbara. I'm currently out of status as of February because of an expired work permit. I extended my work permit because I was owed 6 months due to passport expiry, which I renewed and applied for extension but it expired. But it was refused apparently because I was still able to work based on maintained status. They put that way. I want to know if I can appeal that or restore to a worker. I don't know if it's too late to do that, as I already put in a requisition immediately. Asha.
Okay, so this is one really important thing to note. It's something that we see a lot. So if IRCC does not give you the full validity of your PGWP because of passport expiry, they do take processing time into account. So for example, if you're in a situation where you were owed 1 month on your PGWP and you apply for that extension, if IRCC took over 1 month to process that application, you've technically met the entire eligibility of your initial PGWP. They will not give you any extra time. So if that's what happened in your situation, it makes sense as to why your application was refused. If you're looking at different ways in terms of how to restore your status as a worker, there's limited options in terms of restoration back to worker. So your restoration window would count as of the day your application was refused. That's where your 90 days start counting. If you have an employer who might be willing to support you with an LMIA, you might be able to get a closed work permit. If you have French language, maybe Francophone mobility is a good option for you. And if neither of those apply, or in the case that you do get an ITA, you could, after you submit your application, apply for a restoration alongside a bridging open work permit. But if none of that applies, then the restoration would just be back to visitor, and try to figure out your next steps.
Yeah, and just to add to what Asha said, thank you very much, Asha, for that detailed explanation. Is no matter what, to get back into status, because it's going to be very important and very crucial for your next step in terms of even if an opportunity opens up for you to do anything such as a PR application or that job opportunity for an employer willing to support you. So you want to try to get back into status as well. Okay. I hope we're answering your questions. Let us know as we're going along. I hope you're hearing us and everything is looking good. Brianna has a question here for you, Yuliia. My PGWP is expiring July 2026. I've applied for PR through Express Entry and also through provincial nominee. You are a rock star right now. If you said you applied for PR, that's where everyone wants to be. So that's very exciting. My score currently on is currently under 460s. Oh, maybe you're telling me you've submitted a profile.
Entered the pool.
You've entered the pool, but you've not received an ITA. Can I apply for an open work permit while waiting in the express entry pool? I think this is almost a follow-up through to what Asha actually just talked about, where right now, what you need to be doing is probably talking to your employer to see if they can extend your work, they can support an extension of your work permit if they qualify through an LMIA, because that's the only way that you would potentially be able to extend your work permit. The other thing would be if you actually get to submit a PR application. So if you were to receive a nomination between now and July and then get an ITA to submit a PR application, then potentially you might qualify for a bridging work permit based on the category and the nomination that the restrictions on your nomination and things like that. So you are in a really tight period, very limited timelines here in terms of what you can do with switching your status. So you should be having a conversation with your employer. Sometimes we have employers that are willing to support their employees through LMIA or some exemptions if you qualify, but the challenge is usually that conversation is had a little bit too late. So if you are in this situation and you're seeing that your scores may not receive an ITA, especially if you're not in one of the categories and you've explored all options to boost your point, you may want to start having that conversation with your employer to see where things may fall for you in terms of being able to extend your status as well. That's just really high level overview here. All right. Perfect. Hemi, Yuliia, you can take this one. For the 1 year equivalent work experience, I work 20 hours per week, and I'm sure 2 weeks equivalent 50, 60 hours. I'm not sure I see the question. Can I add the hours I worked overtime?
No. Overtime hours do not count towards PR work experience calculations. So IRCC will only count a maximum of 30 hours per week, even if you worked over that, let's say 40, 50, or 60 hours. So to meet the requirements, you have to have accumulated 1,560 hours over a minimum of 12 months.
Yeah. So you can combine, but the 30 hours is what they count in the end, and that's really it as well with IRCC. All right. Someone said, "Why am I not hearing anything?" Paris, I hope you can hear us now. I truly hope you can hear. I think everyone is hearing us. Can you just a quick check that you can all hear us? I believe everyone is. So that's good. Auditor has a question here. I received an ITA. I used my to create a profile. I had previous job that I worked average 6, maybe even 4 hours. I was hired full-time, was working part-time. What would it be an issue, or can I tell my previous employer to say they hired me as part-time? Asha.
I hope that's not the basis of your ITA. But if this is a different job, maybe that's not the one that's qualifying you to actually receive the invitation to apply. You were hired as full-time, but you worked part-time. That's completely fine. There's no issue if you were hired full-time, but you ended up working part-time. It's just a matter of ensuring that your application is disclosed accurately and properly. You can't say that you were doing full-time if you were doing part-time. So in the actual express entry profile creation, in your work experience section, there's a question there that asks about average of hours worked per week. As long as that was reflected properly, it should be fine.
Okay. Yeah. But, this one, Opeyemi has a question here. Within that period, I have a degree in economics, master's course. After done, I applied for PGWP, got 3 years, and within that period, I applied for PNP and it expired. And the current express entry list, but not called up yet. My current work permit expires in May 16, and I'm planning for a second degree on that healthcare. Will I be able to apply for work permit after a 1 year healthcare program? So a PGWP is once. That's the thing. You've been issued PGWP already. So if you go to another program, you're just gaining additional credentials for yourself, but not for the purpose of getting another PGWP. It looks like you have not gotten to the stage of actually applying for PR or even getting a nomination. I don't think you mean by PNP expired. But just to answer your question, a second program is not going to get you another PGWP. It would be advisable to really explore what your PR options look like. And if that second program is needed, then you can certainly explore that. But when we talk about taking a second program, you can be very strategic about that as well in terms of location and where you're taking that second program. You could also use that opportunity to put yourself and place yourself in a province that would be beneficial to you in the long run, even after you graduate, because a lot of provinces, a lot of even the RCIP community, the Rural Community Migration Pilot Program communities now have benefits and have additional points and benefits to people who study in specific communities. So you might want to look into that before you choose that next program that you want to do. And a lot of time, our consultants, Asha and Yuliia here, would look into that in detail for you during a one-on-one consultation to say, okay, what program is best? What province is looking at a lot more information? Where should you be looking at if you want to take that second program, so that you're strategically positioning yourself and not just taking another second program? Okay. I worked 30 hours per week. I have some I work 30 hours per week. I have worked less than 30 hours due to illness. Will those less hours be calculated for CEC? Yuliia?
Yes, they will be. So it's all right if there were some weeks that you've worked less than 30 hours, just as long as everything else adds up to that number of 1,560 hours. So it doesn't have to be every single week hitting 30 hours for the entire year of your employment.
Perfect. It's good. So Blessing here has a question. Can I get an invitation to, even though my only close relative to someone in the province is not a friend or family? This is SIMP doesn't really, I don't know, Blessing, if you're in Canada or outside of Canada, but SIMP right now anything for outside of the country anymore. And most of the SIMP programs really relate to you having job offers in the province as well. So it's a very different program. Do you have a job offer in Saskatchewan that would lead to you receiving a nomination? Well, and with the Saskatchewan program, you have to get a job approval letter for most of the programs, and those job approval letters, the employer has to be registered with Saskatchewan to get you that. So it's a little bit more. There were times when just having a family member was going to give you that 20 points that boost your score for the draws, like INP, the occupation in demand category, and all of that. But since last year, a lot changed about the SINP program, just because quotas were reduced, and they're kind of holding on to the new pathway and strategy when it comes to SINP. Asha, I think she had another question here about what occupations are in demand in Saskatchewan. It would be more of the sectors that they're focusing on this time, not so much, where is it here? Where is our question? Not so much occupations in demand, but more of sectors that they're focusing on. All right. UK has a question here. Asha, go ahead. You can see it on the screen, right? You can read it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. My PGWP expires in July 2026 based on my passport validity. I applied for PR through Express Entry in December. Do I need to wait for the PR application, or should I apply for an extension of work permit? So I do want you to note, and everybody who's listening here, a PR application does not provide you with status. You are still legally required to maintain your status in Canada up until your actual PR is issued to you. So in your situation, if you were not given the full validity of your PGWP, you can apply for your PGWP extension. And based on what we said earlier, what I would recommend is look at what your full validity was supposed to be, because an alternative option for you could be the bridging open work permit. So yes, absolutely, make sure that you apply for your work permit extension. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're out of status. For those of you who are listening, being out of status in Canada it does impact PR applications. It is one of our grounds of inadmissibility, so please do not find yourself in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Jenny has a question here. My boyfriend and I plan to get married soon. He's preparing for permanent residence in Canada. I'm sure work option is better. Get married first and submit a PR application together as a spouse. Let him apply for PR first and later sponsor spouse sponsorship. Which option is generally more advisable in terms of processing time and chances of approval? Yuliia, I'm going to leave that to you. Congrats to you guys on the wedding. Anyway, that's very exciting.
Both options are really good options. You'd be okay either way. So my boyfriend and I are planning to get married soon. He's preparing for a PR. I'm unsure which option, getting married first and submitting the application together as spouses, or both options are good. If you're genuinely at a point where you want to get married now and apply for PR together, go for it. The second option will take you a little bit longer. So if you're both in Canada, so the processing times right now are like, what is it, 20 months, 20 to 28 months for a spousal sponsorship application. So that's just going to be a little bit of a
in
length
Canada,
here.
21 months.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so 21 months. So it's just going to be a little bit lengthier process. So if you genuinely want to get married, everything's there, everything's falling into place, do that and then apply for PR together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing to consider would be points. If this is an express entry application, there are different points for single versus married. So if you do get married, just ensure that you do the points calculation and there's no significant change in points. Another thing I do want to mention as well is if you guys are currently living together, I don't know if you are, but if you are living together, you might meet the definition of common law. If you've been living together in a relationship for 12 months, you might meet the definition of common law. Common law is still it's weighed the same as a spouse. So just be really careful. You don't want to be in a common law relationship and not disclose that, and then it impacts his PR and impacts everything. So yeah, just a couple of things to look out for there.
Perfect. Excellent, ladies, because that common law piece is something that a lot of people miss. And then they eventually apply for PR. And then IRCC is looking at your timeline, your address history, and it's like, you guys are common law and you never declared it. And that's when you end up in a situation where you have to be running and trying to prove and explain to IRCC. So it is very, very important to check in on all of these things. And a lot of times, like I said at the beginning here, most of this conversation might require more of a sit-down analysis of the whole situation and checking out everything just to make sure, one, should you proceed as is right now? How does that impact your score and your overall eligibility? Should you wait to do it later? What does that look like? Are you in a common law situation? All these questions need to be answered before you actually make that move and decide on what it is that you need to do. At least just know your pros and cons, and then you can make the right decision. Barbara, I can see your question still coming in, but I would say just wait, give it that 24 hours. If you want us to look at the overall eligibility, you can definitely write into the team. We do have review service for reviewing a profile to assess if you don't get that invitation and you thought you would. We could look at that and tell you what's missing and maybe how to position yourself for the next one. But notwithstanding, I would say give it at least 24 hours after the draws have happened. So Brianna here said, I've had a conversation with my employer and they're not willing to do LMI. If they're not willing, then you will be in a situation where you're looking at switching your status, of course, to a visitor, just so that you can maintain your status if you still want to remain in Canada and wait to see what plays out for you with your applications. I would also say not just wait for express entry, you could explore RCIP, Rural Community Immigration Pilot programs as well, while your work permit is still valid. If you secure a job in one of these communities and you still have valid status, you would be able to apply for PR and then apply for work permit as well. So it is still a viable option, and there are other things that you could be doing as well at this time. Okay, so Nicola has a question here. Please, I want to ask if you're outside Canada and want to apply for a work permit. Please, are we going to show only work payslip for the years the work has been done, or must it show your statement of account? Asha.
For work permit, I'm not sure exactly which work permit you're referring to. But if you're looking to prove foreign work experience, in addition to the pay slips, it's strongly recommended to have bank statements with salary deposits as well. So it shouldn't be one or the other. If you have both available, definitely include both. I'm not sure about the years of work that you're referring to. Your question, if you could just elaborate on it a little bit. We're talking about PR right now. You're mentioning a work permit. I don't know what kind of work permit you're talking about either. So just generally speaking, though, pay slips and bank statement.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Moyo has a question here. I've received my ITA. I've been with my current employer for a year, March 2026 to this. So you've read the 12 months. You weren't getting full-time hours. So when I calculated my own hours, I haven't met the 1560 hours, but I worked an average of this. What do you suggest I do? Should I decline and wait until I meet the 1560 hours? Can I go ahead and apply now? What would you tell her?
I would say, how many hours are we short? That's going to be the biggest thing, because between March and May is about 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 months. So depending on how many hours you have as of today, if you can make up those out, IRCC gives you 60 days to submit your application. If by the last day you meet your 1560, then you should delay your submission up until you hit your 1560, then submit that application. If you know based on this 60 days that they provided you, you're not going to meet your 1560, at that point it would be worth considering declining the ITA. Sometimes IRCC is a little bit more forgiving. If you're actively working in that role, they might consider it, but there's no guarantee. And you always want to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you have those 60 days. So see what, like Asha said, first off, determine how many hours are you missing and can you make that up within the next 60 days? And then you might still be good. Yeah.
The thing there too is if they genuinely recalculate your hours and you haven't met them, they choose to refuse your application, you're going to be back in that same spot again, meaning starting all over, creating express entry profile and creating and waiting for an ITA. So just do the risk assessment yourself. Is it worth a refusal right now? If you don't meet those hours, knowing that you're going to have to do this from the start, or if it's better to withdraw and wait for a new one, but definitely see if you can hit those hours within the 60 days you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Tammy's question is for you here, Yuliia. When IRCC is counting months of work experience, do they count the whole month? Let's say you started working last week of January. Is the whole month counted or just 1 week? I keep seeing different options on this. I'm assuming this is probably a Canadian experience class as well, another Canadian experience class question, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to understand. You have a job offer letter. Go with the date that's on your job offer letter. So if you started January 28th, well, you're not going to have 1 month work experience on February 1st. Your 1 month work experience will be on February 28th. So just definitely go with the facts and the things that are stated in your documents. So your job offer letter, your employment agreement letter, that will be your official start date. And that's when your work experience starts counting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Marianne has a question here for you, Asha.
I am in Sudbury. I just got my PGWP in January. I'm studying French right now, and my 1 year work experience will be in August. What options should I consider for my PR? Well, Marianne, it depends on your overall eligibility. I mean, we always start off with assessing eligibility for express entry. If you have a job offer with an employer who's willing to support you, and maybe you studied in Ontario, we could look at the international student stream in Ontario. French is always a good option. I mean, we've seen the French draws. We had a massive French draw today, 5,500 people invited with a cutoff of 397. So it depends. Just based with the limited information that you provided, I can't really give you more information than what I've already said, but start with express entry, see if that's something you qualify for. With employer support, explore OINP. And I believe Sudbury is also part of RCIP as well.
Yeah.
So you want to check and see if your employer is one of those designated employers and if your not code is eligible through the Sudbury RCIP.
Perfect. That's good. Yeah, so lots of you do have lots of pathways, and I always tell people too, with the way immigration is right now, it's no longer the time where you wait and just depend on just express entry will get me here. What you want to do is have plan A, B, C, D. This is what plan A is. This is what plan B would be, and plan C, and layer it on, because sometimes people are working on these multiple pathways together to really overall achieve their long-term goal. So you want to assess that all as you're going on, but you're already doing something great, which is studying French. Kudos to you for doing that without waiting until when your PGWP is also about to expire as well, because many people are doing that right now as well. Okay. Odisa has another question. I said, I'm only asking for my reference letter. I'm worried about saying full-time when IRCC says I've done an average of 10 hours. It would raise an eyebrow. Oh, so this is more about your reference letter. Asha, go ahead. You nodded there.
Yeah, no worries. So the reference letter, it's as long as it's accurate, right? You can be a full-time employee who does an average of 10 hours a week. The full-time would just be in your job title or the type of employment contract that you signed. So the reference letter, if it says that you're a full-time employee, it also, one of the requirements on the reference letter is also to state the amount of hours that you work on average. So as long as it says the accurate average, it should be fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as long as it says that, it should be good. If you remove your job, is this still Tammy? Okay. If you remove your job experience from your profile after ITA due to lack of enough proof, does this raise an experience? It's okay to do that. We do it all the time. We just did it. We had a PR approval recently that was shared. And one of the things we did, which was really strategic, and that's kind of like when you work with our team, one of the things that we try to do is present a very defensible application to IRCC. So when we're looking at your documents, we reassess again, we recalculate scores, and we see if can we do without this work experience, especially if you don't have supporting documents for it. Because we've seen situations where people end up including things in application that actually lead them to a refusal, lead them to a PFL. When you're like, you could have actually done without this information. I've seen it several times. When we're representing our clients, we're doing that work of making sure you're presenting what is defensible, that you have supporting documents for. If you don't have enough, and we can do without it when we assess and recalculate your scores, then we're recommending that you take it off, because you want the officer's job to be very easy to land you as an approval than have to do all this extra digging and extra reviews just to confirm certain things about the work experience. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with you taking it out, as long as you're able to defend and explain and support the points and eligibility when you take out those that work experience. Okay, Moji, I hope you can still hear us. We've not, I think it's just an open link. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you can hear us, you can actually join the conversation as well. Adby here has a question. Congrats on your husband's job, but you're out of status, waiting for a reconsideration. When you say you're out of status, are you able to restore as well? Because a lot of times, SIMP, we've worked with this in these types of situations. You may still be able to put in the application if you're still within your restoration period and you have proof that you applied for restoration and explained your scenario. We would need probably more information to be able to advise in terms of options, but definitely getting the JAL is a pathway to some good news there. So that's good. That's a good place to start. Can my remote work experience, foreign work experience living in Canada be counted in the pool? We'll be honest with you, we've had two answers to this. We've had scenarios where it's like it doesn't count, IRCC doesn't support, and we've had the situations where it counts. I would say your remote work experience must be defendable in a sense that if you are claiming 8 hours in another country, you have to explain how you were able to do the 8 hours and still work 8 hours in Canada if you're doing that. A lot of times where we find eyebrows raised for these types of remote experience is when it doesn't make logical sense, when the type of job is not a job that could have been completed remotely as well. So you have to take all that into consideration and ensure you have enough supporting documents to back up your work experience as well. Yeah. So that's that would be my comment on that. Fisayo is back again. With a very long question. I shall let you read this one, so I take a break.
All right. If I want to for PR, I calculated my scores with my experience back home and I saw it jacked up. Must the previous / foreign experience be related to the current position or can it be different? It does not have to be related. It does have to be skilled. It should be full-time. So it would just be number one. The biggest thing is, have you previously disclosed this work experience? If you're already in country, you submitted previous applications, whether it's study permit, PGWP, visitor visa. Did you put that work experience in your previous application? If the answer is yes, that's great. If the answer is no, you have some explaining to do. Now, it doesn't have to be related to your current position. It can be completely different. It's skilled, it's full-time. You have evidence of your payments, whether that's pay slips or bank statements. Now, if it was not disclosed, strongly recommend bank statements. That's the biggest thing that you can do to prove to IRCC that the work experience is actually real, right? So I hope that answers that first piece. And then if it's valid, what documents will be important to prove that? So standard would be reference letter. The reference letter is extremely important. Your reference letter should have your name, your job title, your duration of your employment, your wage, and the hours of work that you work. The amount of hours you work per week. There we go. As well as your duties. Your duties are extremely important. So reference letter, initial offer letter if you have that available, pay slips, bank statement. That's typically where we start. But if it is work experience that wasn't disclosed, we will likely be asking for additional documents. So it really depends, but yeah, the more documents you have, the better.
Perfect. Fisayo, looks like this is your session. You came prepared with your questions listed and you're sure getting them answered. So also, will you advise to be in the pool or just wait till everything is complete? 1 year of experience, all documents. You can be at the pool as long whenever you're eligible for any of the categories for express entry, get in the pool, right? And keep working on those documents as they're coming along. And then, of course, it gets updated as you meet requirements and you can always update it as well. As long as you're eligible for one of the categories, you don't have to wait for every other thing to add up for you to get the extra score because you never know what IRCC can do as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, Yuliia, this is for also, I would like to understand how Canada's new pathway for physicians apply to international medical graduates applying for permanent residence in Canada. So the categories that IRCC announced.
Yes, so the IRC expanded their categories, I believe, from 6 to now 10, and physicians are a part of the new category. To be honest, I don't have much experience with that, just because it was such a new category, so I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Yeah, so with the express entry new categories for physicians, there are 2 categories now. It's one for those in country. So you have at least 1 year of Canadian work experience in country. For those that are not in country, you still have an option with the healthcare category where medical doctors are listed. So when the announcement came out and it was like medical doctors in Canada, everyone was like, oh, so how about those outside? I'm like, you guys don't miss it. You've always been on the list. In the healthcare category, when the healthcare draw happens, medical doctors from around the world still qualify under that. So you want to, when you're creating your profile and listing your experience, IRCC has now changed. Before, it used to be just 6 months of experience. Now, if you've had at least 1 year of work experience in the last 3 years as a medical doctor, you would qualify for the healthcare category. Now, if you're a medical doctor in Canada, you would qualify for the in Canada one if you've had 1 year of work experience in Canada. So what they did strategically is that Canada is looking for doctors. So there are already all these doctors that have come from various countries working in Canada, and they wanted to make it easy for them to transition to permanent residence because a lot of medical doctors are not in their 30s, 40s that are coming in. Most of them are in their 40s, 50s, right? So their scores are low in express entry, and they wanted to make it competitive for them. Because it was even in the Canadian news about so many doctors who have been saving lives, changing lives, but they don't meet the cutoff for express entry. The physicians in Canada category was created for that. But physicians outside Canada still fall under the healthcare category. So depending on where you are, You just want to look at what you want to do first is your overall express entry profile. See what that is, see if you qualify. But beyond express entry itself, various provinces across Canada also have pathways for healthcare professionals, doctors, and all of that. So you want to explore that. And I would say if you're looking to explore, definitely have a consultation. Asha would be able to talk to you again about what that pathway would look like for you in that medical field as well, in terms of your options. All right. I hope that answered your question, Jenny. Okay. Paris has a question here. If I'm applying for my spouse outside Canada, do I have to provide both proof of funds or just mine here in Canada? Asha, over to you.
It depends on where the money is. That's
Exactly.
the truth. Ideally, the applicant has funds available. If they don't have funds available, inviter can provide funds. It really depends on the individual application, where the funds are, what makes sense. So there's no black and white answer. But depending on the circumstances, either or is acceptable, or a combination of both is acceptable too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for answering my questions. You're welcome, Abisola. Please, for example, if I'm applying for my work permit outside of Canada, and I'm asked, will I be asked? I am asking if I will show proof of work experience in the past payslip to apply for work permit, or the years I claim must be shown on my bank statement. Asha, you understand the question?
Yeah, I'm following the question because it was a question from earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abisola, for your clarification. So what he's doing is applying for a closed work permit. He wants to know what kind of proof is required for previous work experience, right? To demonstrate that he knows how to do the job. So payslips are fine. Payslips are fine. Your bank statement needs to be included in the application regardless, because I mean, if you're outside of Canada and applying to come, you need some sort of proof of funds to demonstrate to IRCC. So if that bank statement that you're using has salary deposits, great. If it doesn't, then payslips are generally okay.
Perfect. That's good. That's it. So that covers your question, Abisola. LMIU work permit from outside of Canada. I'm already excited.
Congrats.
Congrats. Yep, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So we're already very excited for you. Congrats in advance, and wish you all the best. Now, what else? Moyo has a question here. I think Asha, you had answered her initial question. Thank you for answering my question. How does IRCC assess total hours? Because I received an INP, my reference letter from my employer states this per week. So if it already stated on my reference letter, would it be an issue? Are you asking for, Moyo, are you asking for, so she said she added in regards to CEC as a follow-up question to the question. So she's asking how IRCC would look at the reference letter. So there's no, you have to have your reference letter as it is, as what it is. You're not going to make up, you're not going to state hours that did not work. So I think from your initial question, you had said there was a period of time where you were not working full time. Let your employer, if possible, let your employer break that down. Now, in situations where we've seen things like this, I think we had a client where the hours did not make sense. I remember our Excel sheets for that client. What we do is what you could do is your employer, because some employers just have templates for their employment letters. The HR department may not want to modify for 2 days in between for you or what have you. But what you now need to do would be to add all of your supporting documents, which are your pay slips, to support the hours. Because in Canada, every pay slip will list how many hours you actually worked. So that it's from there that IRCC would also count that hours. When we represent our clients, we do the work of showing IRCC how our client met the hours. We do the calculation, we put it in there for them to support that application as well. So let your officers do what they can. If they can split it out for you, great. But if they can't, the onus is going to be on you to convince the officer that you've met the hours. Okay. Oh, Barbara, you can certainly send an email to the team, ask@infoplacecanada.ca. We'll put the email right there, and then we'll be able to see how we can have a call here just to discuss the service you're interested in as well. Fisayo, I see you smiling. Like, Fisayo should have paid for this session today. Fisayo should be the sponsor of today's info session, basically. All right. Marian has a question here. She said, I studied in Ontario, did a 2-year program that gave me a 3-year work permit. My employer will not sponsor me. I have full-time hours, but not a permanent employee. What is the process for applying for PNP you mentioned? Go ahead.
Yeah, so the stream that I was referring to was the OINP International Student Stream. So depending on when you completed your program, so the eligibility there, just high level, is a full-time permanent job offer in Ontario. And with the program that you completed, the application needs to be made within 2 years of when you finish that program. Now, the issue here is that your job offer is not permanent, number one, and number two, your employer is not going to sponsor you. So in your situation specifically, it doesn't sound like that would be your best option. What you could do is go on OIMP's website. It's called the International Student Stream. Read up on the eligibility. But the job that you're currently doing, unfortunately, would not qualify you. You'd need to look for a different job with another employer who might be willing to offer you that support.
Yeah, and so when you say employer will not sponsor you, do you mean the employer registration form via the OINP website? So that is actually mandatory right now for all of the Ontario applicants who are hoping to go through that stream. So make sure, even if you were to secure another job offer with another employer, they have to submit this employer registration form. It is super simple. It is super straightforward. It is a web form that they submit, but they have to be willing to do that for you even before you put in your OINP expression of interest.
Yeah, perfect. Edby has a question here. My restoration period expired while I applied for reconsideration. I applied for visitor's record, and so what you had applied for was a visitor's record. It got refused. You're out of status. Being out of status in Canada will affect your PR application because you unfortunately have to have valid status. And when clients get to this situation, we honestly truly advise, like, you've come to that point where you have gotten a job, there is PR in view. I would say don't stay to hurt that opportunity you have. Consider leaving the country and doing the application from outside. It's not the nicest, not the dandiest of advice. If your husband is able to stay put and get the application in here and you're outside and you could actually go outside and then try to reapply to come back in as a visitor, right? There are different ways and there are different options, but I would say if you're out of status, you can't be out of status in Canada and apply for PR. You're already inadmissible to Canada. And if one person is inadmissible to Canada for permanent residence, the whole family is inadmissible to Canada. So it could hurt the whole application. So if you want to have a conversation with us as well to explore in detail what that option would be, how that application for your spouse should be put in for even the nomination and all of that, we're definitely happy to have that conversation with us. Again, you can send an email, just reference that you were a part of this event today and you would just like to see what your next steps are. We can definitely have a conversation and see how we can assist you here. It's dicey, but you have gold in your hand with that job approval, and I would hate to see you guys lose that because of your status. Yeah. Okay. Odita has one last question here. Go ahead, Asha, on that one. I think you had answered his first question. Yeah.
All right. My company name in Nigeria is GDM Group. However, they paid me using GDM consults. Will that be an issue? Not necessarily. I think it's just a matter of ensuring all the information is consistent and the same. So if there's just a line on your reference letter that specifies it, or if GDM or GDM consults is reflecting on your payslip, as long as it's being mentioned across multiple places, then it should be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we're almost coming to the end here. We have about 10 minutes left. I know we have been answering questions for the last 1 hour. Thanks to everyone who has been here. So I just want to leave this. We can get to all the questions, of course. We'll put in contact details. For those who would like to book one-on-one sessions, you can certainly book a consultation on our website as well. If you have follow-up questions to what we've already talked about here, you could do that. If you've received an ITA and you would like us to either handle your application completely, we offer 2 types of services, which is a full representation service where my team and I will take over the application and handle that from you from start to finish. All those letters, explanation, things we need to calculate, explain, show. We have a ton of experience representing clients for PR. This is what we do. We live and breathe immigration. So you can be sure that you are in the right hands when it comes to that representation for your application. So we can do that for you for a full rep. We could also do review as well. We do have clients who are like, you know what, I could do this myself. I know how to fill my portal. I know how to write my letters. I know everything I need. But I'll just like you to do that one extra look for me. Complete that review for me. I want to make sure I've checked off all my dots. I've dotted my I's, crossed my T's. That's our review service. The review service is different. It's a one-time service. So we review your application. We provide you a detailed report about things that need to be fixed, things that need to be updated on your application, and all you're on your way to submit that application. But with a full representation, we're with you until a decision is received. So whatever ADR, additional requests, anything that comes through, updates required for your application, my team and I will be there holding your hands all the way to the end of that application process. So if you're thinking about that, for those who have received ITA, definitely send us an email, or if handy, we could also, we'll send us an email so that we can give you our intake form. You can complete. We assess eligibility first before we take you on. We look to see that ITA you got, you truly deserved it based on some preliminary information. We don't want to sign you up for anything if we don't think we can actually help you and represent you on your application. So reach out to the team, ask at infoplacecanada.ca, and we'll be more than happy to help you. For those who want one-on-one consult, mapping out strategies as well, our website is shared to book that session, have that plan laid out, because things are so tricky and tight right now, but people are getting PR every day. It's people who are able to get their strategy in place, have a plan, have it laid out. Don't wait for last minute, so that you have options. That's exactly what you want to do here as well. Okay. Annie has a question here. Annie said, hi, I got an CEC. You guys are throwing me off. You guys, what's a CEC nomination, Annie? Anyways, I think I know what it is. I think you probably wanted to see a CEC ITA. Okay, nomination is when it's provincial. So when we hear nomination, we're thinking of a PNP. When we see CEC, we're thinking about an ITA. So anyway, we'll figure it out. So he said, but it came when I clocked 1 year experience. I got my nomination in February, and March 8th makes 1 year since I started working. Should I apply or decline? Asha, over to you.
I already answered in her comments, but I just build on everything Aisha was saying. So you have 60 days to submit your entire PR package. So March 8th, you'll be able to hit that, and you'll be able to clock in your 1 year work experience. You should be totally fine.
Yeah.
And then your second question there, Anne? ITA, yeah. You made a mistake in your degree award date. And that should not be too crucial. That should not take away your points from your degree date. Please write an explanation letter when you're attaching your degree, just stating the correct date.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Moyo is back again. I see Moyo. Moyo is back. Moyo has a long question. Okay, Moyo said, if my employer provides me a letter stating I'm employed full-time, but unfortunately, they couldn't provide me with full-time hours at the time because they were opening a new location, which is where I now work. Would that help with my application? Also, how many months of pay slips would I be submitting for my CEC application? Asha.
Okay. I don't know if this was the same person who was asking the questions from before about the not meeting the full-time. Okay, Moyo, you're getting into a little bit of muddy waters here. If the reference letter does not contain accurate information, just know, and these are situations that we've seen before. If you claim full-time employment, there are different ways IRCC can verify this, right? So what I've seen them do is take a T4 from the last year. They took the T4, they took the wage. They divided these two numbers by by weeks, and they came with an average number of hours, and it was below full-time. That's the level of extent that they go to, right? They can reach out to various organizations. They could call your employer. There's so many things that they can do to actually verify how many hours a week that you were working. So for you to put on a reference letter, or your employer states that you were full-time, but you actually weren't, it's very tricky and it's not advisable, just because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where in the future they send you a PFL or they ask you for all of the pay slips from your employer that you've ever received, because they have the ability to do that. The best thing that you should do is, if you know for sure you don't have the 1560 across the 12 months, just give it a couple of months. Wait until you actually meet the eligibility and then submit an application confidently. Now, how many months pay slips are going to be required? There's no figure. There's no exact figure. It depends. Sometimes we'll include the most recent 3 months. Sometimes we'll include earlier. It really depends on the application. IRCC doesn't specify exactly how many pay slips that they want to see, but just know they do reserve the right to request all your pay slips in the future. They can figure things out. And if you're in a situation where they do figure it out, it's not going to be a good outcome, and it's really not worth it.
Yeah, thank you. IRCC has ways of finding out things, and you want to truly, as true as possible, just think about yourself. Should they ask me, can I defend this? Is this defensible? So important as you're working through your application. And a lot of times that's when a second eye comes in. I remember when we had to cancel representation for particular clients because when we looked at when we looked at the hours she was combining and the job she was claiming, it did not make logical sense for her to hold a full-time job and hold this other full-time job, given the nature of the job, what it is, because IRCC will verify stuff, they look at things, they'll question things. So you want to be able to question your application objectively, and whatever you're putting in, make sure you can explain and support that as well. Also, for the category-based draw for express entry, does in Canada applicants need money sitting in the account for 6 months, a letter of employment, and it's not about the category. It's about the stream that you're UCEC or FSW, and that's what determines if you need POF or not. Applicants with Canadian Experience class typically don't require funds at all. If you're being invited under the federal scheme, except you're only exempt if you have a valid job offer, which is like an LMIA-based type job offer. Aside from that, you would need to have your POF as well. 6 months requirements would depend on, IRCC wants to see 6 months. We have seen applications successful with gift deed. If you have funds gifted to you, they have to be real gift, and the gifter has to have proof that they could have generated that amount of money to provide to you. We are seeing a shift in immigration where some of these gift deeds were not questioned before. IRCC is questioning it now. Who's the giver? Why are they giving? Could they have afforded to give you this? So more needs to go into supporting that gift that you've received, especially if it has not sat in your account for 6 months or more. All right. Oh yeah, I see you at algorithm. We see you at CCI algorithm. Thanks for joining today, Odita. Okay, I think they answered some questions there. Moji, thanks for joining. Annie said she meant ITA. See, she's getting it. She's getting to the PR immigration lingo as well. Good. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're almost at 3 more minutes. Annie has a question here. Yuliia, you can take this one. What if someone has declared their highest degree when coming into Canada initially as a visitor? It wasn't awarded or verified yet at the time, but it was put in now as the highest degree.
Oh, that's some muddy waters there. The reason you didn't include it is because it wasn't verified yet. What do you mean by that? You didn't have like a WES assessment done, like education credential assessment?
I think she's not awarded. I think she didn't have the physical. Maybe she finished school but didn't get the physical degree.
Okay. So, whatever your case is, explain it in your PR application, because now you're adding something that's a crucial component of your ITA. You are definitely being awarded points for this degree, so you don't want them to be taken away from you. If some points are to be taken away from your score, you might fall below the lowest cutoff point, and then you might find yourself in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Which means getting a refusal if you're actually below the CRS score cutoff for that round of invitations. So definitely provide a solid explanation from your previous application as to why it wasn't included. Something short, brief, but factual and to the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We actually did work with a client. Her PR has been refused, has been approved. She did not include her education, and we had to include it in the application because she truly had it. A lot of times, applicants applying to Canada, especially for the first time, many people either do it themselves or they use unlicensed representatives who don't advise them properly on what to disclose or what not to disclose in the application. And some people honestly don't think this stuff is important. When you're filling in your first application, you're like, I just want to get the application done, and you put it in. So if you've ever done an application, and this is a good time to see that, you do have immigration history with IRCC. So which means that you need to do the job of making sure all the previous applications all tying together. Now, if the degree wasn't awarded, which means that you didn't complete the program, but later you did, and that was after you did the visiting visa and all of that, that's not a problem. But if you actually had the degree, but you just didn't include it in the application for whatever reason, like Yuliia said, you will have to explain that to IRCC. One of the things that I tell applicants is always, IRCC loves it when you come up straight to them, as opposed to they finding out themselves. And also, when you're coming up straight, it's not just explaining. You would have to have a lot of backup evidence to really prove and support that, yes, you did have this degree. For whatever reason, you did not just include that. I think Annie just mentioned here that she did not have the West assessment here. So having the West assessment is not a reason why the degree should not have been declared in your visiting visa application. So that would then require an explanation in this application now that you're putting it in with supporting documents to get those additional points that you have as well. One thing to pay attention to is IRCC looks beyond just the education section. They're going to be looking at your activity history. They're going to be looking into how this all ties into your history of your movements and things that you were doing. So everything all has to tie together and make sense. And if it does, and you can explain that properly, you should be fine as well. All right. Right at 6:30. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. It's really, truly been a pleasure hanging out with you. I'm going to let the ladies do their final words and then we'll go today. Yuliia, you can get started. Any final words for everyone listening today in terms of their journey to PR, extensions, and all of that?
Honestly, if you're within Canada and you find yourself to be out of status, it's always not the end of the road for you. There's always something that can be done. So speak to one of us, speak to a licensed immigration consultant, just to find out what your options are. If you are in a position where you think you have a good chance at PR, there's always something you can do to improve your scores, or to gather all the documents properly. So just make sure that you're ready when IT comes. So your working hours, a couple of people mentioned that. Just have all of your ducks in a row. It's a very it's a serious application. It's the one that's going to lead you. So this is the hardest assessment in your PR, in your immigration journey with Canada. So you definitely want to do it, typical and everything, to have it done from start to finish.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much. Asha, your final words.
We have two ladies in the chat that are begging for two final questions.
That was your final words.
Okay, you know what? I'll take these two really, really quickly, but these are the last ones because these two have been here the whole entire time. Temi has foreign healthcare experience. As a student, I work 20 hours a week. After school, I work 25 hours a week because I work part-time somewhere else. Is it okay to create different experience, or should I put them in one straight experience? If the roles are the same, if it was the same job, if it was outside of Canada, so let me clarify this. Foreign student work experience is fine and it counts. Inside of Canada, student work experience does not count. If it was outside the country, it's fine. Put them together, put it at 20 hours a week. That's what I would do. If it was done inside the country, though, you do need to separate them. Check off student for one, don't check off student for the other one. And then last question would be for our friend Fisayo. Florence, I'll leave that one with you.
Fisayo, what did if I'm considering CSC, will they advise to stay in one job to get the 1 year? Should I apply for another job so I can have both, or sticking to this job until I'm done the 1 year? Fisayo, remember it's 1560 hours, so don't go working so many more hours. It's not going to count. 30 hours per week is the max that will be counted towards any job. So it depends. If you're currently doing only 15 hours here in a qualifying CEC role, maybe get another one so that you can get 15 hours to join together to get your 30. But honestly, if your one job gets you your 30 hours, you're good to go. You're just going to be counting towards that 1 year in the long run. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. We've had a great time here with you all answering questions. We hope you found this really helpful. Like I said at the beginning, I know, especially for in Canada, folks, there's a lot happening. We've already invested a lot of time, efforts to get here to be in Canada. You want to be very strategic about that. A lot of times people underestimate the power of getting professional guidance on time. We've seen people wait till last minute to do that. A lot of times when you come to us last minute, we can't do anything. But when we're able to have conversations earlier on, we're able to lay out plans in place. Don't wait until your work permit is expiring before you explore that option. Even with PR applications right now, IRCC's threshold for things have really, really dropped. So we're seeing applications returned for the silliest of reasons. We're seeing applications refused for the silliest of reasons as well. So you really want to protect what you've done. I always tell people, I'm like, what would it mean if you're able to get this application approved? And how would it impact you if the next application you're about to put in gets refused? How would that impact your stay in Canada? I think when you ask yourself that question and have an answer to it, it will really determine to you again, what does it look like investing? Because looking for signing up for representation is typically not to be viewed as a cost, but more as an investment towards your long-term stay in Canada. So if there's any final words we would give to you, seek help in time, seek professional guidance as well. Things have gotten really complex. If you're unsure and you don't have the time to research and get all the answers and do it all together yourself, seek professional guidance. Like I said, we have full rep, we have review service, we have consultation. There are different ways you can get the guidance you need to support your application. So thank you very much. You all know where to find us because you showed up here. You know where the announcement is. I know that you will reach out to us if you need any help and any guidance from my team. We look forward to helping you, and we look forward to you achieving your immigration goals as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.